The most anticipated movie from MCU in 2025, Captain America. Did it live up to expectations? Is it worth watching? Let's talk about it, of course, with no spoilers. And as a bonus, I'll tell you about Anthony Mackie's interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live, which I saw in person. 5 months after Thaddeus Ross gets the big job as US president, things go south. Fast. Sam Wilson, our new cap, and Joaquin Torres are sent to Oaxaca, Mexico, to stop the Serpent Society from selling off some very classified tech. They manage to secure the goods, but their leader, Sidewinder, slithers away. Torres is hyped about stepping into Falcon mode, but Wilson? Not so much. Unlike Steve Rogers, neither of them has superpowers, so he's not thrilled about throwing his friend into the fire. So, post-mission, they hit up Isaiah Bradley for some old-school training, because if you're gonna fight elite criminals, you might as well learn from a forgotten super soldier. Ross extends a VIP invite to Wilson and Torres for a World Leaders Summit at the White House. Wilson agrees, but only if Bradley gets a seat at the table. Once there, Ross pitches a little project: assembling a new Avengers squad. And surprise, adamantium exists. Turns out, Tiamut, yes, that giant celestial body in the ocean from Eternals, left behind a gold mine of the indestructible metal. Ross wants to keep things civil and proposes a treaty before countries start a global scavenger hunt. And then, chaos. The second Ross starts talking, the song plays, and suddenly, a bunch of people, including Bradley, start shooting. Who's behind the musical mind control? As always, I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but as you can see, there's much going on there. So back in 2015, Kevin Feige made it official. Captain America: Civil War was the grand finale for Captain America trilogy starring Chris Evans. That meant the first Avenger, the Winter Soldier, and Civil War were Cap's main arc, at least according to Marvel. But let's be real, Evans was Cap, and fans weren't ready to say goodbye. Even though Civil War is technically his last solo outing, Evans was open to extending his contract beyond the massive crossover films, Infinity War and Endgame. Then, in 2021, rumors swirled that Evans was in talks to return as Steve Rogers in something. But when asked, he pulled the classic Marvel actor move. This is news to me. Meanwhile, over in Disney Plus land, Marvel was cooking up The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, starring Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson and Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes. The show explored Sam stepping into Steve's shoes, or rather shield, as the new Cap, while also dealing with the massive responsibility that came with it, especially as a black man in America. The show was well received, but before even premiered, Mackie admitted that a second season wasn't guaranteed. In true Marvel fashion, executives kept things vague. Like, maybe there could be another season. Maybe it will set up a movie. Maybe it will lead to an epic game of intergalactic Uno. Who knows? But by the time the finale aired in April 2021, the answer became clear. Sam Wilson's story was far from over. Just days after the series wrapped, Marvel announced that head writer Malcolm Spellman and series writer Dylan Musson were working on Captain America 4, officially passing the shield to Mackie's Wilson. As for Evans, if he was coming back, it wasn't for this movie. At first, Mackie had no idea this was even happening, because Marvel loves keeping their actors in the dark. But once he got the call, he was in. He later admitted that he was a little bummed that the movie meant no Falcon and the Winter Soldier Season 2. But hey, getting to lead an MCU film as Captain America? That's a pretty big deal. Then came the director. Julius Onah was tapped to helm the project in 2022. That this wouldn't just be Falcon and the Winter Soldier the sequel. No, this was Sam's story, his new era as Cap, and it was about moving forward, not dwelling in the past. At Comic-Con, the film's title was revealed: Captain America: Brave New World. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because it's been thrown around in everything from pro wrestling to conspiracy theories, making it a very loaded choice. But Marvel stuck with it. Controversy and all. Then came the casting shocker. Harrison Ford, cinema legend and professional grumpy old man, was stepped into the MCU. After the passing of William Hurt, who played Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, Marvel needed a replacement, and they somehow convinced Ford to take on the role. According to Marvel, the film was inspired by Secret Empire and would explore the idea of Sam fighting for his ideals even when the government itself doesn't live up to them. But coming back to reality, I didn't like the movie. I absolutely don't buy it. Yes, Marvel now tried to bring more humor and dilute all that fake pathos with the humor and charisma of Anthony Mackie, but it's not enough. In an interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live, where I've been personally and will tell you in the next segment, Antony Mackie said,
Endgame was such a massive, massive emotional experience. And Kevin Feige said, he's like, it's going to take people 2 to 3 years to emotionally get over Endgame. Right. So now we're at that point where people, they want more. You know, they want to see what's that next phase. So this movie is the beginning of that next phase, the same way Captain America, the First Avenger was.
But for me, Marvel probably was done with Endgame. Yes, I loved WandaVision and did a couple of videos about the series, but that's different. Now it just looks like propaganda wrapped in the pathos of famous actors and inclusivity. Because Captain America's character was made for that purpose. But it doesn't work. The reality right now doesn't support the message that is shown in the film at all. Marvel-style filming, the typical style. Nothing fancy or revolutionary, good expensive picture. Acting is at grade level. To be honest, at some point I was lost in thoughts about how it was actually filmed. This is probably a professional deformation and the experience of being present on set. But I guess they just do what they know. It was never a goal to do something different and new. Simple moves, not enough action. It's like they tried to add a lot of events, but it didn't work. At the same time, action scenes themselves felt pretty short. I went to see this movie because Anthony Mackie is a very charismatic actor, and because of this interview.
If you were a Disney princess, who would you be?
Cinderella, because she broke, homie. She represent me, yo. Let me borrow $20.
He fits the role. Of course, he's not Steve Rogers, but it has a right to exist, and progress is a beautiful thing. Although the movie itself tries to lead us into these memories and comparisons, kinda trying to apologize and justify. Which really doesn't work in his favor, because Steve Rogers and his movies were much bigger. The plot is very simple. Yes, a little misleading at times, but not enough to interest a fan of something unexpected. This is a typical popcorn movie, mass culture in its essence. Trailers provide predictability. I try not to watch trailers before going to the movies because they give away more than half of the plot. I probably reveal less in my reviews than trailers do. But people liked it. They laughed, gasped when there was a cameo, but I don't believe it. I don't buy it. It wasn't interesting, too long, and not funny. I mean, I realize that I'm a foreigner with absolutely different background, so this is purely subjective, as anything in this world. As in the most of the MCU movies, there is a post-credits scene, and it's plain. Not interesting, revealing, or entertaining, just ominous. Blah blah blah, I'm so evil, but I'm not alone. Before we go on to conclusions, I'd like to take a moment to talk about how I saw Anthony Mackie on Jimmy Kimmel Live. It was quite an interesting experience. Actually, I had heard about it a long time ago, and that you can get to the filming of the live show for free, but I forgot about it pretty quickly. One day I was going to a coffee shop on Hollywood Boulevard. This is the street where the famous Walk of Fame is. And I saw the building where the filming of the show takes place. And I decided to find out how to get to see it. And everything turned out to be pretty easy. Google the website, choose a day, and it also shows the invited guests. Filled out the form, and a day later received a ticket. The most interesting thing started on the day of the event. When I arrived at the Walk of Fame, it was closed, because of the premiere of Captain America was going to take place. After security check, the coordinators invited us inside, and we were seated. Honestly, I thought it would be just this boring wait, like on set when you just wait for hours for actual filming to start. But on Jimmy Kimmel Live, everything was different. Unfortunately, filming was prohibited, so I'm showing you the footage from the show itself. But it was super interesting. They made us laugh, entertain, and kept the positive mood. The crew called people from audience to show their talents. I thought about participating, but I was a little embarrassed, and I also was in the middle of the row, so decided not to go. I sing if anything. You can hear it in some of my videos or on Instagram, so subscribe. We were coordinated, told the shooting plan, and Jimmy himself came on stage with a funny monologue and a skit was shown on the screen. I thought it was just well recorded and everything was carefully rehearsed, but in fact, it wasn't. After the monologue, an actor who played in the skit came out in the hall. That is, it was also a live performance. So cool. After that, Antony Mackie was invited and he gave an interview. It was a very interesting experience. He's really very charismatic and funny. Apt jokes, confident behavior, a very pleasant impression. He also did not ignore the audience, but maintained interest in his jokes. The second guest was Lizzie Kaplan, but I will tell you about her when I review the film with her participation. She was also great. Overall, I really liked it. I had a great experience. I went back to the Walk of Fame, where people were gathering to see Anthony Mackie at the premiere of Captain America. But I didn't wait there anymore, just went home. That was the story of visiting the Jimmy Kimmel live show. There's nothing really more to say about the interview itself because it was all recorded. It's really short, and you might say like the whole show took an hour to film, with everything changing and guests coming and leaving, so as you can see, the interviews are really short. To wrap things up, this is a classic MCU movie. Yes, it's absolutely different from Chris Evans' Captain America, but at the same time, it's a good thing. I like Anthony Mackie's style. He blended in perfectly and opened the new era of Marvel superhero movies. Will I be involved in it emotionally? Probably not. Should you watch it? I mean, yeah, why not? It's definitely not a bad movie, but it's not that grandiose as it was before, so maybe not. Watch only good movies, those which give you hope.
Damn, nobody saw that.